All right. Well, I just finished completing my fourth drag and drive. I've done Miles of Mayhem since its onset in 2021, and I thought it would be a good time now to kind of go through a list of essentials. What I carry with me when I'm doing a drag and drive, what I feel like is a good thing to have. Now, this list may not work for everybody. Obviously, everyone's vehicles are slightly different and may require different tools or different parts, but it's kind of a rough guideline. It's what I've refined over the years, and it's what it works for me. So I'll start out with tools. A good rule of thumb is if you have it, you're not going to need it. If you don't have it, you're probably going to need it. So now you'll have to think on your build, any kind of specialty tool that you made or have modified or that's very specific to what you've built, absolutely need to bring those tools. I just carry 3/8 sockets, so metric and standard. Obviously 3/8 ratchets, then I've got extensions and swivels, and then I carry metric and standard wrenches. I carry a couple of 1/2-inch drive sockets just for doing wheels, so your standard like 3/4, 11/16, 13/16, or if you had a newer vehicle, it could be metric 20, 21, 22 mil, somewhere in there. Obviously you're going to want a torque wrench. You're going to be taking your wheels on and off multiple times a day, so you want to make sure they're torqued. You don't want to just rely on an impact or your elbow clicking. So screwdrivers, it's good to have a decent selection, large and small, flathead, Phillips. There again, you're going to know your car, you're going to know what's in it. If you have battery tools are very, very handy. I carry an electric impact, makes swapping your tires every day a lot easier. And I carry a smaller bit driver, so I just have a case of bits for all my screwdrivers, different bits for that, so I can run my 3/8 sockets or my 1/2-inch. Really makes life a lot easier, quicker. If you have repairs or you have to fix something in between rounds, you've got time to do that, right? Obviously, you're going to want a jack. Jack stands are a good idea as well. I usually only carry 2, but you may want to carry more. If you had a major breakdown, you definitely want to be able to raise the vehicle up enough that you can get under it and work safely. You don't want to just rely on your floor jack to hold the truck up while you're working under it. That's extremely dangerous. Don't recommend it at all. Another thing that I carry is an electric fan. It helps not only cool down the car between rounds, but you can turn it around and cool yourself. Get a lot of hot days, and you don't really get a break from it because you're out on the tarmac all day. So a fan, even a tent, a pop-up tent, makes a world of a difference. In fact, if you have a pop-up tent, you're quite popular at the track because everyone's looking for that just a little bit of relief from the sun, right? Air compressor. I carry a battery air compressor as well, which is also handy for, say, if you need to adjust the pressures in your slicks or your radials, or if you have a flat on the side of the road, you may need to pump a tire up. It's handy to carry a few consumables, some Loctites. Usually I just carry blue, but you're going to want some silicone, so the right stuff, or ultra copper, ultra black, something like that. So if you do have a gasket failure and it's the middle of the night, you can't get to a parts store, you can silicone that up, hit the road, and deal with it another day. One thing I didn't carry, or haven't carried up to this point, but that would have saved me a little bit of hassle this year, is mechanics wire. I even thought about carrying it this year and I didn't, but just a small roll of mechanics wire, you can tie things up, tie things out of the way. It would have been handy. I broke the exhaust on my truck and it fell down, hit the highway. Well, what are you going to do? I just tied it up, limped it back, fixing it now, right? So if you've got flat tappet cams, obviously you're going to want to bring your feeler gauges. It may not hurt to bring files I've seen guys need those before. You don't need to carry a lot of tools, but just your basic stuff, and then things that are going to make your life easier, like those battery tools, right? One thing I forgot to mention is an assortment of pliers. I carry wire strippers and cutters, some needle nose, some side cutters, some spark plug boot pliers, channel locks, shears, and obviously vice grips. All can come in very handy. Should carry a bit of an assortment, something similar to that anyway. One thing I failed to mention was a light. You want to carry some kind of battery powered light, because oftentimes if you are working on the side of the road, it's usually at night, and you've got to have something better than headlights to be working on your vehicle with. So, highly recommend that. Moving on to parts. Okay, parts. Well, this is one category that I probably carry too much and not enough all at the same time. There's guys, now, mind you, that run a lot faster than I do, that carry spare transmissions, spare diffs, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying you need to go that crazy. I definitely don't go that crazy, but there's a lot of people that do it. That is some dedication, I tell you. Yeah. I'm no, not this guy. Not doing that. We're just not doing that. But I do carry a lot of parts. So I'll physically show you the parts boxes I've got set up, but we'll talk about it first. So I like to think about what's on my truck that I couldn't necessarily go down to your local parts store and get regularly, right? A fuel pump, for one. I can't tell you how many times I've seen guys on the side of the road because their fuel pump gave out. I carry a spare fuel pump. Obviously, higher horsepower requires a lot more fuel. I've got a 400 liter an hour fuel pump, not something that's easily found. You're only going to find that at a performance shop, so I carry one. Whether it's in tank, out of tank, it's not a bad idea to have one. See, I run an LS engine, so this has saved me, and it's also saved a lot of other people in the pits. I carry just about every sensor known to man when it comes to LSs. I've got crank, cam, I've got NOx sensors, I've got TPS, like you name it, I've got it. Mostly because a lot of the crew I'm rolling with has LSs. It's just handy to have. If something happens on the side of the road, middle of the night, bam, here you go. Plug it in, takes 5 seconds, you're back on the road, versus a big ordeal where you got to try and track one down or have someone run one out to you. So I try and carry all that. It's a great idea to carry a little bit of wire and some connectors. Oftentimes we've had wires rub through, issues show up, right? So I've had a lot of wiring issues on the road. People I drive with have had a lot of wiring issues on the road, so having a bit of wire and connectors goes a long way. You can quickly change a wire out or patch one, make things work. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it yet, but a tire patch kit. I mean, if you get a nail on the side of the highway in the middle of the night, well, no tire shops are open. If you've got that battery-powered air compressor and you've got a plug kit, hey, you're in business. Takes a few minutes, but you can patch that tire, fill it back up with air, hit the road, change it out the next day at a shop. Or just run it. Gaskets. It doesn't hurt to carry valve cover gaskets. I know on these LSs they're reusable, but not always. So I carry those. I carry exhaust flange gaskets just because my setup tends to burn them out, so it's nice to have. Another thing I recommend you carry is wheel studs and nuts. I can't tell you the amount of times over the years that it's how many people that's helped, myself included. Whether you go to switch tires at the track and the threads are galled up, the nuts don't want to come off, or you end up breaking them, it definitely happens. Knock on wood, I haven't had an issue since I switched to actual hardened studs. Highly recommend that. Haven't had an issue since. Good steel. Makes a massive difference. But regardless, I still carry a full set of studs, and it definitely comes in handy. So I'll kind of show you my tool kits here, my parts kits that I've got set up, and like I said, it's a bit overkill in some ways, but it's still less than other people carry in the same respect. So I'll show you what I got here. Okay, so in this first container, I've got a spare fuel pressure regulator and just some miscellaneous metric hardware and clamps. These are injector O-rings. I've got a spare U-joint for my diff, silicone, ultra copper. These are the valve cover gaskets for the bolts. I've got water pump gaskets. There's some flashers in here, and I believe this is rubber off the pickup tube. Believe it or not, axle bearings and seals. Here I've got flange gaskets for my exhaust and a fuel pump gasket there. A couple of spark plug wires, spare methanol pump, which is definitely overkill. Another flasher apparently. I've got a boost switch for my methanol. Spare studs. These are just some vacuum caps and a couple of adapters, ORB to AN. Fairly basic stuff, but has all come in handy at one point. This second kit here, I've got a couple of spare rockers, some hardware, blower couplers, and some tape. I've got a spare fuse holder. This is an IET, a spare IET sensor. I've got idle air control, throttle position sensor, a couple of NOx sensors. There's a spare VSS. This is a spare brake switch. If I can dig this out. Oh yeah, oil pressure sensor. Actually, we've got two VSSs apparently. Another one here. JB Weld. Cam motion. Those are valve seals. I've got a spare solenoid. Relays, some more hardware. This is 2-bar map sensor, and what's this one? Oh, I've got two 2-bar map sensors. Not necessary, but whatever, they're there. This one is another relay. I've got spare plugs, coolant temp sensor, headlight switch. I've got some more gaskets here, oil pickup tube, some more water pump gaskets, pickup tubes, more valve cover stuff, blower seals for my IET. So yeah, just some basic stuff, sensors mostly, and the odd gasket, that kind of thing. So nothing crazy, but it's all been a lifesaver. Oh yeah, and I guess I didn't do this in here. I've got a new methanol solenoid here. This is my spare fuel pump. I've got a spare coil, and then new pickup screen for the pump. I've got breakers, hose clamps, and a bit of fuel hose. So all comes in very handy, especially when you're on the side of the road and it's something simple like this. You have a spare, pop it in, and you're back on the road. All right, survival. Let's talk drag and drive survival. And I don't mean getting the vehicle through the week, I mean getting yourself through the week. Because it can be tough sometimes. You're spending a lot of time out in the sun, on the tarmac, at the racetrack. It's hot, sun's beating down on you. You really don't get a break from it because a lot of the pits, obviously uncovered, you're just out in the open. So highly recommend you bring sunscreen, a hat, all of that's absolutely necessary. Have to bring it. Bug spray is another one of those necessities you shouldn't live without. If you break down at night, you're on the side of the road trying to wrench on stuff, it's really not fun trying to do that while you're getting eaten alive. Or if you're just hanging out in the parking lot at night, like if you've got bug spray, you're popular. So definitely recommend bringing that. And lawn chairs. You're going to want to have breaks. You're going to want to sit down at the track. You're going to want to, if you are working on the side of the road, people are going to be hanging out helping you. You're going to want to have some chairs there. You're going to want to take breaks. If you have room for lawn chairs, I really recommend you bring them. The other absolute necessity you're going to want is a cooler full of food, and soft drinks. Now, it's not always the case that you're going to be able to stop at a restaurant or a gas station or something to get food. I've been there myself. You leave the track at a decent time, you have a breakdown or multiple breakdowns, you end up missing the restaurants on the route, and it's the middle of the night, you've got nothing to eat, and there's nothing open. And you may not have ate all day because you're running back and forth, you're making passes, you're cooling down the truck, you're trying to fix things. Like, I've definitely had it where I've been there running all day long and not had anything to eat. Highly recommend you carry a cooler full of food and snacks, drinks, whatever. Obviously, it's not real safe to carry fuel inside of a car. Don't recommend that. But if you have a trailer or if you're racing a pickup, it's not a bad idea to carry some extra fuel. We were fine this year, but last year we ended up taking a route that my truck physically couldn't make it between fuel stops. So I wouldn't have made it had a friend not had a jerry can of fuel with them. Another thing that's nice to carry is, say, shop towels or like wet wipes, hand wipes. If you're climbing around the vehicles, working on the vehicles, you want to be able to clean up after, especially if you're on the side of the road. You may not have a sink or a bathroom or something to do that in. You may even want to take it as far as getting latex gloves. So another thing that I personally recommend that saves me and all my friends is board shorts, swimming trunks, and a towel. We found that here, at least on Miles of Mayhem, the route usually takes us past rivers and lakes, and it's always hot. Like, I think at one point it got to 38 degrees Celsius this year, which I think, don't quote me on this, but I think 32 is 100. So north of 100, it's hot out. No AC in the truck. I'm telling you, jumping in a lake or a river, even for 15 minutes, is a lifesaver. Wakes you up, refreshes you, you're good to hit the road for another hour or so. So that's one thing I definitely recommend. Another thing that I do that I haven't seen anyone else do yet is I've got a bike rack on the back of my truck, so I carry a pedal bike. Some people actually haul golf carts, any kind of like pit bike or some kind of mode of transportation like that. If you have room, it's actually pretty nice, because often if you got to run to the concession or somewhere around the pits, or if you're looking for parts, you can just hop on there, cruise vehicle to vehicle looking for stuff or whatever it may be. Saves you a lot of time and makes life just that much easier, because you're on your feet all day long anyway. So definitely nice to have if you can make it work. Well, hopefully you found this video informative, helpful. If you have any other further questions, please comment below. I'll try and answer them, get back to you as soon as I can. I don't know, like if you're even remotely thinking about doing a drag and drive, just stop thinking about it and do it already, because it's absolutely worth it. I've done, like I said at the beginning of the video, I've done Miles of Mayhem for 4 years now since it started. Next year, I feel like I'm going to have to go back if I can get a ticket. I would definitely like to do some of the races in the US. It'd be nice to get down to Florida, potentially do Sick Week, or one of those events would be great. Rocky Mountain Race Week, or even Drag Week. One of those events, definitely on my list. I want to tour the US, so hopefully I can get to do that soon. And yeah, hopefully we see more of you Americans come up to Canada and try out Miles of Mayhem. It is worth it. It's a good drive. It's a great event. Everyone's an absolute beauty, so hope to see more people getting involved in the future for sure. So I'm going to end this video there. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, hit me up in the comment section below. I'll get back to you. But I'm Ryan. This is 780 Speed and Custom, tuning out.